soul to soul, soul to soul. Soul to soul, 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 soul to soul.
Hello and welcome to Soul Talk Show. This is Pooja, and today we have with us Brother David from UK, who's been practicing Raj Yoga meditation for the last 36 years. Welcome, Brother David.
Thank you, Pooja. It's great to be back again.
So we continue with the journey.
Yes, indeed.
To begin with, Brother David, could you please tell us what kind of food style you had? And when you had to change that food style, did you have any challenge for that? Did you have to face any challenge for that?
You know, when you're a kid, you just eat what's put on your plate, and I don't think I really thought much about the food. So, as I was saying, we were from a Jewish family, so that was basically meat, and Jewish people eat a lot of chicken as well. So, up until a certain age, I was eating meat and things like that, and I didn't really think about it actually. And then probably when I was late teens, then I started to think a little bit about the ethics of killing animals and things. A little bit, you know, you hear young people talk a little bit. And then actually, as part of my spiritual journey, my wife and I, we visited a spiritual community up in Scotland. And we stayed there a couple of weeks, and it was mostly vegetarian. And we hadn't really thought about it, but when we came back, we thought, oh, actually, we didn't really miss the meat so much because... And then what happened, just slowly, we kind of, in a natural way, we cut down a little bit on the red meat, and then a little bit of chicken and fish, and then this and that.
For getting introduced to Raj Yoga meditation?
This is beforehand, so we were kind of, there's different types of vegetarian, some people, but we used to eat onions and garlic and eggs and things like that, but we were reducing it. It just... at that time in our lives, it just seemed to be the right thing to do. We didn't talk about it too much, but we just, and also actually just economically, it's cheaper. You know, vegetarian food's a lot cheaper.
Okay, Brother David, do tell us about the difference in lifestyles as a BK and a non-BK.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a change. With the thing of vegetarianism, the thing that was... I guess there's so many reasons for being vegetarian now. I mean, health reasons, vegetarian diet. It's definitely the better for your body in terms of health, and in terms of economics. There was a study some years back about finding the best and the most nutritious and the most economical diet in the third world, and it came out as vegetarian. But the thing that I think that was new to me when I connected with the Brahma Kumaris was the effect of the food on the mind. And that did resonate, because when I came to the Brahma Kumaris, I mentioned before, I was quite stressed with my job, and I was definitely looking for something that would help me have a clearer mind and mental stability. And so this was like a new idea, that the food would have an effect on your mind, and also the way that the food was prepared could have a negative effect or a positive effect. So this was kind of new for me.
Did you have any other factors also, like they follow a purity and getting up early in the morning, all sorts of these things? Did you have any challenge?
Actually, it felt quite natural. I mean, I used to be getting up early anyway, because I used to study in the early morning, and I'd get up to play sport, and I used to go fishing when I was a kid, and so I used to like the morning. I was a morning person. And I'd already started to meditate in my own way, so I'd already started to get up a little bit earlier, just basically to get a bit of time with myself before the day starts, because just to jump out of bed and grab a breakfast and go out the door is not a good preparation, for your day's work. So I'd already started to do that. I guess with the BKs, it was just a little bit earlier. So that wasn't a huge change. It was for my wife, because she wasn't used to getting up so early, but I was used to it. Relationship, yeah, that changed quite a big way. But again, the relationship of having a spiritual relationship, it's an individual life. It's an individual life choice. You can't change your diet, and people talk about celibacy and brahmacharya, but these things, you can't enforce these things. It's just something we decided to try, quite frankly. And for us, it kind of worked. And sometimes people say, well, have you lost a wife? I said, no, I've still got a wife. But we also have a nice relationship.
Brother, has anything changed in your life since you joined Brahma Kumaris?
A lot has changed. But what I kind of was saying, it's like, what I liked about in the Brahma Kumaris is that it's not a series of do's and don'ts. From outside in, it can appear, you do this and you do that, and you don't drink and all this, that, and the other. But I didn't take it like that. You can't have a vacuum in your life. So if you're going to let go of something, you have to kind of get hold of something else. And so for me, I could see that the benefits of the meditation were really very useful. I did feel a change in my life. I felt more peaceful. I could cope with work better. My relationship improved. So that kind of benefit actually helped me just let go of things. And that also connects to the kind of meditation. You can't stop being negative unless you start thinking a bit more positive. You can say, I've got to stop getting angry, but actually here I found, rather than trying to stop getting angry, I started to think more about being a bit more peaceful, maybe being a bit more flexible, maybe a bit more accepting. So that the focus was on cultivating the positive aspects, and then the other things just drop away, basically, because you can't do two things at once. You can't be calm and be angry. But to stop getting angry, you need to practice being calm.
The other way around.
Yeah, and psychologically that felt much more comfortable, because in a lot of other systems of meditation, I found it was like the mind was like the culprit. You have to stop thinking, but it's the nature of the mind to think. You can't stop the mind thinking. It's like the kids I used to work with. It's like trying to ask a young child, can you sit still and don't move for 5 minutes? Well, they can't, because it's the nature of the child to move, to be inquisitive and things like that. So same with the mind also. We need to focus on something positive, and then automatically the negative gets replaced. So it's the same with any kind of lifestyle change.
So that's a unique way. That's a unique way.
It's a unique way, but you can't do this just for the sake of it, because it's not a permanent change. But I realized that what I found quite helpful with in the Brahma Kumaris, or was useful for myself, was that I could see that there was a connection between changing my lifestyle and this sense of purpose, and particularly this peace of mind that was coming. And I had quite a strong experience of that, and it felt so different from how I was before, that I wasn't going to let go of that. And even though those things were suggested, I didn't believe them, but I thought, I'll just give them a try, see if it works. Even the things like celibacy, we just tried it. No one was telling us you have to do it for the rest of your life, because you can't do that. We just tried it, and for us it kind of worked. Maybe it doesn't work for everyone, but for us it worked. So that's why we did it.
Did you ever feel the need of having strength to transform a certain habit of yours?
I get impatient. So yeah, I do get a little bit impatient. With the other things, you know, I wasn't a big drinker. I didn't smoke. I didn't do drugs. So I didn't have such a that kind of lifestyle. So I found these things actually quite natural. Again, because when I practiced them, it just seemed kind of easy, kind of natural. Maybe for other guys it's not. You know, you speak to other people, it's a bit different. But for me, it felt natural. And then, you know what happens after a little while? I thought, my God, I can't imagine how I ate meat or did this. But at that time, like you say, you don't think about it. Now it just seems quite natural to be vegetarian and have this kind of lifestyle.
Brother, what else you have benefited from meditation, practicing meditation for so long?
I find, you know, in relationships, I find the benefits of meditation, it kind of oils our relationship. I find I'm much more understanding about people. I'm able to listen a little bit better than I was. And, you know, one big thing is that you realize everyone's different and everyone's kind of unique. So that's very helpful. You know, they don't do things the same way that you do things. They speak differently, they think differently. And whereas before that would kind of annoy me, now it feels okay. And I guess the focus is, you know, you asked on one of our other chats about being introverted, and I guess in that sense there has been a shift. Whereas before I would look for solutions outside of myself, and if something wasn't going right, I'd be quick to point the finger at someone else. Whereas I find with meditation, and I guess that is a kind of an introvertedness, I'm tending to look to see how I'm feeling about something and what it is that I choose to change in myself, rather than expecting other people to change. And that's quite a big shift. And it's also quite freeing, because trying to control things that you can't control, like other people, is a fast track for stress. And ultimately, I guess the only person you can control is yourself. And the key to that is how we use our mind. You know, and that's kind of work in progress. That's not an overnight job. But I'm finding that feels nice, you know, in any situation. How am I feeling? And what is it? A bit like an actor, you know, can you imagine on a stage, all the other actors are commenting on what someone's doing, saying, you know, you shouldn't do it like this, and if I were you, I'd do it like this. But actually, you can't play your own part if you're thinking too much about what other people are supposed to do. So I'm finding that is a big shift. I think, okay, everyone's different, everyone has different set of values, but I have to sort of see in myself what feels comfortable, what feels right for me, and then do that.
Is it easy for you?
Some of the time. And some of the time you get challenged, you know? Some of the time you get challenged. But I do find, okay, we call it meditation, but it's not like a reflection. It's just having a little bit of quietness so that you slow your life down a little bit so you can see what feels right for you. And that's quite a big shift for meditation for me, yeah.
Have you really started accepting people as they are?
Well, again, that's a fine theory, but again, it's work in progress. But what I find is a very nice teaching here, and it's not, you know, it's not unique to Brahma Kumaris by any means. Most spiritual practice, okay, first of all, seeing each other as just beyond the physical, so looking beyond the external, that's very nice. But then even within someone's personality, to see the good side rather than focus on the negative stuff or the bad habits or whatever, because we've all got that. And once you start looking at negatives, then it's no help to the other person, it's no help to you. And I had a lovely expression. Someone said, you know, see the best and forget the rest. and I like that. So in others, I try to do this, but what I find is I can only do that adequately in others when I'm doing that for myself, so that I'm looking to strengthen the goodness in myself and accept the negativity that's there, but not beat myself up over it.
Were you a dominating kind of husband?
Now, I think this is a question you'd have to ask my wife. um, yes and no. I think, I don't think I was so dominating, and also my wife, very independent, free thinker, intelligent lady, and so I don't think I would be able to dominate her anyway. But when you look at male and female personalities, generically, not individually, you see that males do tend to have that nature. But I think I don't think I was so dominating. I don't think so.
Which is the best thing you have liked in Raja Yoga meditation and Brahma Kumari's teachings?
It's given me a very deep understanding of myself and how I work. And it's given me a deeper love for life, and it's given me a great acceptance of other people in a very clear way. Like I mentioned in one of our other chats, my waiting, I worked in Bradford in the north of England, and 60-70% of my families were basically from Asia, and so a whole variety. And I always felt people underneath the skin were the same, and I like to treat them with that sense of equality. But I didn't really understand the clarity of that. And then through the Brahma Kumaris, through this idea that we're all spiritual beings, we're souls, then I could understand why I was feeling like that. And then I love cultural diversity. I think, the colours and the languages, I think it's great. However, if I just see people on that level, it can create a lot of division. So for me, I guess probably that's one of the main things that I've learned here, and that's been so helpful. So I can be more accepting of people, and that feels quite joyful.
Did you ever have personal experience of being a soul?
Yes, of course. In meditation, and also it's interesting, I did have some of these experiences before this meditation, but I couldn't really, they weren't clear, and I couldn't label them. But yes, I've had many of those experiences.
Certain people believe that souls doesn't exist, certain belief systems are there.
But you know what I find here, I'm not so much into belief systems. I mean, okay, I've been with Brahma Kumaris for many, many years now, but I'm not here because I've bought into a belief system, because how do I know that belief system is correct? It's just a theoretical thing. I'm very pragmatic, I'm very practical. If that understanding is helpful in my life, then I use it. And translating these ideas or these concepts, whatever you want to call them, beliefs, into my practical life, if it works, then I kind of go with it. And up until now, this is the thing that works best for me. Maybe tomorrow, maybe something different, but the ideas work, so I use them.
Were you able to justify your childhood spiritual experiences on the basis of the knowledge you have got?
Yes, yeah, and that was really kind of nice. So that because you don't understand that when you're young, because you don't understand that, like, you're a soul, there's something inside. But then you realize that you're carrying things from the past, and that's why I guess in a previous life I must have been quite spiritual. And the other thing that it helped in the context of that was my work, because I was working with young children, and sometimes they would come and they'd be very fearful, have a bad experience at the dentist. And I realized actually that if I was being as kind as I could and as gentle as I could, and still something came up in that child, then I was able to understand that it's what that kind of soul in a small body had brought with them. And that was so helpful. It was really so helpful.
Brother, please tell us about your first experience when you came over to India.
It was a strange experience. In those days, I think it was Santa Cruz, the old airport. And I remember we landed. It was an Air India flight. I can even remember how much it cost. It was quite cheap in those days. And I remember it was just tar macadam and a few huts and these guys standing around with rifles that looked like they were from the war from years ago, and the smell of kerosene and all the honking and the crows, and it was so different to my experience in my life, and yet there was something inside that I kind of liked. I don't know what it was. I couldn't put it into words. And when we landed, I felt as if India was kind of old. It felt, yeah, it just felt old, and I just kind of liked it. And I guess, you know, when people come to India, they either like it or they don't. I don't think there's in between, and I just liked it.
And, what about the headquarters experience when you visited the headquarters of Brahma Kumaris?
Well, my experience actually in those days started in Bombay, and when I came here. And you know, the thing that really struck me, and it really moved me, because it's something that I tried to practice when I was back at work, seeing people with this vision of equality, even though they were different. I couldn't really get over the fact that there was people who were greeting me as a long-lost brother and a long-lost family member, and they hadn't set eyes on me before. And it happened when we were in Bombay, and then when we came up to Mount Abu, and in those days, boy, I don't know if you used to come up the mountain from Abu Road, and it was a single-track road with passing places. So that was a little bit of a scary journey. But again, when I got there to the headquarters, it was as if people were greeting me as if like I was coming home to my family, and they'd never seen me before. And then I realized that this awareness of being a soul, not just physical, I thought these people are practicing this. It's a real thing for them. It's not just something you read in a book, which I'd read before, but they were practicing that, and I could feel that. There was a feel, I suppose you'd call it love. It was like a closeness.
Did you ever have this experience somewhere else? Did you ever have this experience anywhere else?
Do you mean
In any other organization or any other place? Like
to some degree, yeah, to some degree, because you know, when anyone's having any form of spiritual practice, or they're practicing their religion with that honesty and that earnestness, they'll kind of come close to this. What I found in the Brahma Kumaris, it seemed more consistent. There was more. I felt it from more people, and certainly from some of the people who I would say were more senior or more practiced in this idea of the soul. You could feel that. I felt as if they were looking at me different. They were kind of just looking past, you know, because I arrived in jeans and looking very Western, but they were clearly seeing something different, and I liked that very much. It made me feel comfortable, and it was a very safe feeling. And I also felt they didn't want anything from me. In fact, I felt they had kind of things to share, which were useful for me. So it was a nice feeling. It's a lovely feeling.
is it this feeling that makes you come every year to India?
What makes me come every year to India? Yes, that's one thing. Also, now I have so many friends from across the world, so I love to meet them. And, you know, in terms of the journey of the soul, I feel very comfortable in India. So I think I was probably here in the past.